Thanks, Lydia. Also worth adding to my introduction for those of you who don't know me, I'm only been in marketing for 2 years, but I've spent my whole career in the Dynamics channel. I started out as a partner. I've implemented our product. I have sold it as a pre-sales solution architect, and I was a fast track architect as well. So don't just take me at the marketing face value. Hopefully you know I have a little bit more than that to share. And the fast track experience becomes relevant too. I'm gonna take over sharing, Lydia, if that's all right. I think to our existing community members, business process doesn't really come as a surprise to you because it's how most of our users and our partners think about software implementation already. But I think that the way that Microsoft and the larger industry has thought about software and software implementation hasn't always been process specific. So back in 2021 or 22, Fast Track started this journey, picking up some of the things that were from before, Microsoft Consulting's Sure Step methodology, some of the APQC stuff that was out there. There's a lot of kind of other organic process mindset that was inside the community, but we also found that on the Fast Track side, when we would go to give implementation guidance, a lot of times we get stuck in this product-focused challenge where when you start implementations with product mindset, you're getting stuck in, well, this is what the system calls this versus this is what our business calls this. And this is what you have available. Let me figure out how to squish whatever it is you do into what our system does. And, often that comes to a particular module that's in scope or a product. And when I say we, I mean several folks from the Fast Track team. I think many of you know Rachel Profit as well as our business process queen. We decided to help make this transition from product-led implementation guidance to process-led because that was already how our community was thinking about implementations and project success. So that birthed the business process catalog. And what that allowed us to do was create a framework through which we are providing our guidance in terms of process. So there are 15 end-to-end processes, which you see here on the screen. And then each process has 4 levels of depth to it from an implementation perspective. You have your business process areas at a L2. You have your business processes, the specific processes within those areas at the level 3. And the really exciting part is the level 4 content, which is scenarios or patterns for best practice configuration of a business process, knowing, the different design considerations that an implementation may have. So that was kind of this big bulk of work that was kicked off by Fast Track a few years ago and is actually still ongoing. And then about a year ago, we were looking at the way that we explain our products in more of a sales side of things and kind of had this light bulb go off of, well, if this is how customers implement, isn't that how we should talk about it up front with them as well, right? Let's create this seamless connection of, let me explain to you our product when you're making a buying decision from a process perspective, and then that will carry you through for implementation success. And that is where the process-centric ERP sales content came in. And to talk a little bit about more what is that, there's 2 key components. There are process-centric pitch decks, and then there are business process click-through demos. And these pitch decks are really meant to say, okay, what is Microsoft's perspective on this process? Let's level set on, maybe you call it quote to cash, and we call it order to cash and prospect to quote, but here is our framework. Here's a really easy way to grasp it. And now let's connect it to the specific capabilities inside of Dynamics or the Microsoft stack in certain cases that help you actually run those business processes and solve the problems that you have within them. So these started out as basically only meant to be sales materials And what I've seen is that in reality, they've turned into things that can actually even help with discovery, especially if maybe you started with a certain subset of processes, but now you're going to be incorporating additional processes like planning or procurement, et cetera. So these have become tools that are really powerful. And to that end, we're looking at making them even more available to the community. And I did want to take a second to share how you can access these. So to give you a really quick on a page, what is this and how do you get started? We picked 10 processes that are the most relevant to the ERP category, and those are the ones we started with. So every process in this list of 10 has its own process deck, which talks about what I just outlined. And then we are in the process of doing a 5 to 10 minute click-through demo for each of these processes so you can really visualize how it comes to life in product. Right now, these decks are available externally only on Microsoft Partner Hub, and I will show you how to access them there in just a second. And we are in the process of actually getting them loaded to the Fast Track implementation portal because we think that these are assets that have turned out to be valuable directly in user hands, customer hands. So why not put them out there? So that it's an in-process thing, but it's something we're working on. And then I also, for those of you who maybe haven't seen all of the great content Rachel has put out about the implementation guides in the process catalog, I'm going to show you that in just a second, but you can quickly get to it with this aka.ms/business process catalog. And then the important thing is, as always, that we want feedback on the materials we're putting out there. And you can see I have a link to a survey, process content feedback, aka.ms/process content feedback, gives us that understanding of, is this complete? Do you think things are missing? Or, does something not make sense? We definitely want to hear from you. So with that, I'm going to actually flip over to, I can just click the AKA link and show you what it looks like on Partner Hub. So inside of Partner Hub, on the in go to market on the ERP transformation with AI, the ERP homepage, at the bottom in the resource library, we have our business process pitch decks. So we have 2 sets just because of the constraints on grouping that we have in this webpage, but all 10 business processes are here. The little lock sign just means you have to be logged in to access these, and you do need a Microsoft Partner ID to access Partner Hub, which again is why we're working on getting the decks available on Implementation Portal. So if you're a customer of ours, you can have access to them as well. And then we have the first 5 business process demos are also available in the same area of Partner Hub as resources. And again, those are click-throughs, and we have Word documents that outline the script that goes along with the click-throughs in case you want to present it out. And then the last thing, so if you're not familiar with the Guidance Hub, I highly recommend you check it out. This is maintained by the Fast Track team, and you can access it with going to aka.ms/1guidance. And it's not just business process content, but it's also, the general Fast Track implementation guide, reference architectures. There's lots of good stuff here that really helps make sure that you're getting all of the free guidance from Microsoft on how to implement. But here we have the section on end-to-end business process. So for the overview, there's the direct link to what is the catalog and how can I access an Excel version of it, which also includes an Azure DevOps template, so you can actually structure your whole project based on business process. And then there's a lot of just high-level articles about how to use the catalog and implementation, what the terminology is, et cetera. And then for every end-to-end business process, not just ERP, but all 15, there are overview articles that explain what the process is, the key stakeholders, the key areas, just the high level kind of how do we look at it. And then what the Fast Track team continues to work on, let's look at order to cash, for example, is for each area within order to cash, for example, they're writing articles for all of the L2s, L3s, and all the way down to L4. So it won't just be high-level documentation about what is a process, but this is where you will find that detailed exactly what is the best practice configuration, for example, for defining procurement catalogs. So if you didn't know about this, I hope you learned something awesome today. But again, this is a work in process, and it is one that they are crowdsourcing as well. I hope there's an article about this, but in the overview or in some of this documentation, there should be information about how you can contribute if you want to share your best practices and submit them for the business process catalog. That is something that the Fast Track team is 100% open to as well. So that's kind of my little spiel. And I did want to take a second to just see if there's any questions from anyone about anything that we shared or any feedback.
There's a few questions in the chat. One, could you email me that deck in PDF format so I can email it out to everyone, please? We can't attach files in these events. Some questions about Business Central. Some folks are saying there's stuff in there that is relevant to Business Central, but just a general query about that.
Yeah, so the goal is to ultimately include Business Central. The challenge is the most of Business Central implementation is done directly through partners. So the in-house expertise on implementation guidance, the pool to draw from is a little bit smaller, but it is a frequent feedback that we get. And I know that it's something Rachel and team are heavily considering. How do they figure out to incorporate that?
Cool, awesome. And it sounds like you had help from lots of different members of the community with these as well, which is so great.
Yeah, I think that's the best part is, of course, we know that people really value the official Microsoft opinion on things, but I think the reality is that partners and customers are the ones in the weed day to day, and for them, to contribute is really meaningful, and it helps us make sure we're, true to life. Thank you for letting me come present. Thank you to the community for everything you guys do and for the contributions to business process content. We couldn't do it without you, that's for sure.
Definitely. Thanks, Anne. Thanks for presenting.